Conservation Commission acting as the Inland Wetlands Agency, December 6th, 2023 meeting. Luke Thomas, I'm here, Dabney Bowen is here, Richard Boucher is here, Jay Fain is here, Peter Hood is here, Peter Mahoney's here, staff Sarah is here, and Tim is online. Oh, Ted, I just noticed you're online. Okay, so Ted is here as well. That's great. And our there he is. Ted, Tim Bishop is here, but he's online. So we do have a full forum, but I will appoint Ted as a full member tonight, and now we have a full contingent. Okay. Moving on to number 3, approval of the draft meeting minutes. Number 1, Inland Wetlands Agency meeting of November 1st, 2023. Do any commissioners? Yes.
I move to accept the votes from last meeting.
Second.
Okay, so then that means there are no questions or comments or corrections. Then let's move on to sidewalk meeting number 2, sidewalk meeting for November 12th, 2023. Any comments, questions? Nope. Then any motion for that one? Okay, Rick makes a motion, and there we go. Kate seconds that. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Okay, moving on. We have Roman numeral 4 to the public hearings session. What we'll do is number 1. It's a map amendment application, William Kenny Associates LLC, 12 and 44 Wakeman Road, map 141, parcel 120B and 171. Request to amend town map 3-15 to reflect ground conditions. The decision may be made if the hearing is completed, or the hearing may be continued. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe to complete the hearing ends January 10th, 2024, so a public hearing may be continued to the January 3rd, 2024 meeting. A 65-day time extension may be provided by the applicant. Further public hearing continuations are possible. If the hearing is completed, the agency shall make a decision within 65 days. Staff recommends approval of the map amendment, but it's the public hearing. I will open the public hearing now and ask the applicant, I guess, to come up here. Want to stay there, or if you want to come here, whatever's more convenient for you. Or here, sure. Whatever works.
Good evening, Bill Kenny, wetland scientist, soil scientist, here on behalf of Trinity Baptist Church. They own several residential properties adjacent to their church property. 2 of those are 12 Wakeman and 44 Wakeman roads. And historically, a small stream used to run through the back of their property. Back in 1975, the Connecticut DOT did improvements along North Benson Road. These properties are just south of the intersection of North Benson Road and Wakeman Road. They're on the east side of that intersection, southeast of that intersection. A stream used to run down the west side of North Benson Road. And the DOT came in and improved the road and put that stream into a large culvert. And thereby diverting the water. That stream no longer runs through these properties. There was a double culvert beneath Wakeman Road that would have carried that water onto this property. And what happened, so that was, it's no longer carrying the water from that stream. It does carry a little bit of water. Wakeman Road itself, in 2003, town of Fairfield put a couple of catch basins, or maybe they already existed, but they connected pipes from a couple of catch basins on Wakeman Road to these 2 pipes that were left over from the stream. So those couple of catch basins do collect water from Wakeman Road that discharges into this swale area. But other than that, the area it doesn't receive a lot of water. I reviewed it. It's shown as an intermittent water course on your maps. It only extends for a couple 100 feet and then it stops on your map. So the church is asking that intermittent water course be removed from your maps. And I concluded that there are no wetland soils and that I don't believe it's an intermittent water course. I saw that Tim agreed with the conclusions I had with regard to that. We also, at the last month, the town engineer had voiced a concern. We met with the town engineer out in the field and we were able to figure out all this piping, the history of this, and we went through it. The church has assured the town that whatever they do, they're going to maintain the flow of that water from those catch basins and through the property. And I saw that he issued a memo within the last month indicating that he doesn't oppose the deregulation of this area. But he does indicate that he expects the property owners, the private property owners at the church, to whatever they do in the future, make sure that water to their property, limited amount of water from Wakeman Road. So church is pleased to do that. We're going to try to answer any questions you might have.
Go ahead.
Two things before I start. For full disclosure, I live adjacent to this property. I'm not in a medium area of the street. I'm not going to recuse myself because I have some things I want to say in terms of the technical aspect of it. I just wanted to disclose that. I have no problem with the church. It's been a good neighbor, but I just wanted to disclose that first of all. And second of all, I am a professional wetland scientist, and I do have as a wetland scientist and as a wetland consultant. I just wanted to disclose both of those things. So I agree with most of what Bill is saying. However, I think in my personal and professional opinion, there's still enough information and evidence there that we can consider this either as a water course or as a intermittent water course. Just as a step back a little bit, the state a number of years ago, because there was so much discrepancy in terms of what different wetland agencies determined to be a intermittent water course, came up with more or less a definition of intermittent water course, which has a number of parameters. The number one thing is whether it has banks or not, and then there was also a couple other criteria, whether there's evidence of erosion and sedimentation and scour, whether there's wetland vegetation, and whether it flows more than a single storm event. I looked at it, it's marginal, but there's definitely evidence, as Bill said, in the 1934, there was evidence of a water course. And as recently as 2019, if you look at the aerial photos, it's visible from the air. On the ground.
Mr. Fain, are those photos or anything provided by the applicant?
No, these are photos that they could be submitted for evidence. I think there's enough.
Hold on for just, so, are you providing that as, your decision should be based on what's provided here as a public hearing. So they need to provide information, or you can ask it of them or anybody who's either opposed or objecting to it. You have your education and you can use that to make a decision on your own voting. But if you're going to provide any further information, it really shouldn't come from you. It should come from staff if you've asked them to do something.
I think there's.
So I'll ask Tim, do you have any information regarding, your recommendation is that it's fine, but now Commissioner Fain is saying that there's some information that you provide that to the commissioner? Tim? Oh,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to Commissioner Fain's statement. As I explained in the staff memo, the Yeah, there were a couple dates I had cited that it appeared that water was in the in on the site in this location, and you know it's only a snapshot in time. It was in the spring. Whether that water was there for longer than a storm, based on the definition of our regulations, we don't know. But I in my opinion, I think um, it did not meet the definition of intermittent. And that was my
Thank
the
you.
opinion that I stated in the memo. As far as aerials,
Yeah.
I have access to those, and those are what I explained in the memo. So they could be similar sources to Commissioner Fain's source that he just stated.
Okay. The only reason, Commissioner Fain, I'm saying this or doing this is if an applicant or somebody else were to appeal this, I need to have a clear record. So we're here to get information that they get. It could be wrong. We make a decision based on what they give. We shouldn't be going out and doing our own research like we're either an applicant or somebody opposed to it. We take the information in and try to make a decision as best we can.
I believe there's a case law, and I'll try to provide it for you, that commissioners can rely on regular or easily available public information when they're reviewing an application.
The commissioners can on their own. Right. So, do you have any direct questions to the applicant about the information he's provided? Please. feel
Well,
free to
I'm
ask.
going to go on and continue with my observations here. There's two letters from the town regarding this application.
Okay.
And I think both of them are pertinent to the thing, to the application at hand. I don't know if you want me to read them both of the record.
Are they
on
in
the
the
record.
record?
Yeah.
If they're in the record, you can reference them and then you don't have to read the whole letters.
No, but storm system maps from the town and state show this is an active water course, vital to the diverting stormwater from the area. Overall, the channel on 44 Wakeman is a part of a natural waterway that carries stormwater from houses and streets along North Benson and Wakeman roads. They make that observation. And also on the November 13th, 2024 letter to the town engineer. Overall, this channel on 44 Wakeman is part of a natural waterway that carries stormwater for homes and streets along North Benson and Wakeman Road. I think, I agree with the concept of, the applicant has stated that they would, before doing any activity, they would, check with the engineering department or this department. I'm not sure who they would check with, because of the concern that it does convey stormwater. But I think that given the characteristics of the water course, the fact that it has natural banks in the channel, it does have some wetland vegetation as shown in the pictures provided. Mr. Kenny has smart regrowing along it. And when I looked at it in the field, it have evidence of scour in the road. I think it would be a mistake to deregulate this wetland. I think that we need to, in order to protect what the applicant said was to do in terms of allowing this to flow freely in the future, this is our best method to do it.
Mr. Kenny, would you like to respond, make any comments to that? Or,
Yes. I'd like to introduce other documents to the record.
sure.
Being a public hearing, I understand.
Yep.
I have copies of the DOT map from 1975 and the town's map 2000.
If you wouldn't mind giving at least one set to the staff to share on, that'll be what'll be part of the record. And if you have copies for us, that'd be helpful.
Yep.
First, I'd like to dig into the definition. And I have put it here. Not for you. What the definition says what a water course, what a regulated intermittent water course is, but it also says what it is. So it says that you can have a defined channel with a bank. You can have scour and deposition of alluvial material and have water flowing through this from time to time. So you can have a channel that's visible from an aerial photo. Go out there and see water and scour, and it still not be a regulated intermittent or water course. And when I look at this, one of the key things I see in it beyond that is water flowing during storms. Wanted to get this right. The presence of standing or flowing water for a duration longer than a professional, I interpret that to mean that when they wrote this, they wanted to protect water from carrying water that's flowing, not just during a storm event. And generally that's, well, and that water's cleaner than runoff, say, from roads and driveways and things like that. So they wanted to protect these drainage features that are carrying relatively clean water that is discharging from the ground. So for a channel that doesn't just convey surface water, but it also has groundwater flowing to it, a base flow, what they call base flow, the water that you see in a stream when it's not running. So by excluding areas that only convey during and immediately after, they're saying those areas are primarily just carrying surface water. So with that being said, you could have the fine channel, something you could see on an aerial photo, and that physical feature with water flowing through it. And I believe that's what this is. And I'd like to review those drawings with you in a little bit more detail to explain to you that I don't think there's a groundwater component. You look at the 1975 maps of Leo Wetlands. Okay. It's an old map, hard to read, but you have North Benson Road here, and north is to the right. In blue is where a stream used to run right alongside the road, and then it would cross the road through a culvert, come down here, cut through the property that's at the intersection of Wakeman and North Benson. It would come through the yard and then go through these double culverts on Wakeman, and then come out onto the properties that we're here to talk about, Wakeman. So in circa 1975, this drawing's dated then, I don't know exactly when the work was done. They put in a 6-foot wide culvert, which is shown in pink. And it goes all the way down to close to 95 where it discharges into a channel. So the water that used to come through that stream is now in that pipe. And that had a significant watershed at the same pipe. And so when the town engineer references that it's picking up water from this neighborhood, it's my understanding that that water has been put in that pipe in North Benson Road now. And then when if I believe some of you have been out to the property, but if you go and you look at those two culverts below Wakeman, both ends of those culverts were literally, the upstream end, you can't even find the opening of the culvert. It's completely buried in that property that's at the intersection of, so there's little to no water coming into those pipes anymore on the uphill side. So my belief, the water the only water really coming into those pipes right now is the water coming from the two catch basins that are shown on the town map. It's the other from 2003. And that road is curbed. Picking up water from the road, putting it into the catch basins. And so it's almost 100% from the road. And so definitely was a very active water course in the past. Hasn't had the flow of that stream for many decades now. And it appears that, in my opinion, it has primarily surface water, not groundwater flow, which when I read the Mitten watercourse definition is the purpose of protecting water courses that intermittent groundwater.
Then we need both components, groundwater and surface water, to be categorized as a.
That's
I'm learning here a little, I'm a little.
that's my professional opinion. It doesn't specifically say that, but it says you want water flowing longer than a storm event. So if your storm event stops and the water keeps flowing, I interpret that to mean that you're getting a groundwater flow. And, we have streams that are flowing perennially. That's because of groundwater discharging into them.
Do you have like any opinion? I mean, to me, when I look at the landscape, it's still, it almost seems maintained for drainage.
It's still,
This is not something that has had no water since 75.
it's still a low point in the land.
It's actually dressed with rock, very carefully dressed with rocks, and I mean, it's very formal is what I'm saying.
And it's got the bioswale in that dip.
I just feel like if it had been dry, more or less dry since 75, somebody would have taken some effort to relieve the depression. To me, it still looks like it's used.
Water, a non-regulated water course will have water flowing through it during a storm event. And that is a low point. Still collecting water from the road, plus it's collecting water from the backyards. And being a low point, water still goes to it and flows to it. I believe it's primarily surface water. I don't think the other parameters are there that are strong enough. Physically it's.
Go ahead.
Like you said, Bill, I don't know where it mentioned the statute of the groundwater part of it. I've seen the water flowing through that, and I think everybody knows that there's some flow. I can't say that, what the iterations are, but there is enough evidence, in my opinion. You have that smartweed growing there. I think part of the reason there's not more vegetation is because it is maintained. I think I think over time, what's happened with that is also that it's become filled with rocks and stuff. So it's acting like a French drain. So there still could be some, groundwater flow there. We don't know. But my opinion is, why deregulate this when I think that this agency would be reasonable to any reasonable proposal that came through. Acknowledge its Tim says in this thing, its primary function is water course. It's not a lot of ecological function. I agree with that. And I think that we would be equitable to, some proposal for that. But if we deregulate this at this point, then we lose entire control of it. And there's nothing that we can say in terms of that would stop them from doing whatever they want, filling it in or whatever else. And that could have negative impacts to the flow. As you said, as small as it may be, these are the things that we're charged with protecting.
Commissioner?
I did let staff know I accidentally trespassed onto it was the same property, but if you go a little bit farther, there's that open drain. And it says
It's a church.
towards the church, and it says water course, on that with the culvert in there. Is that what you're saying has been abandoned? I'm a little confused.
Down. So all of this, it flows into the drainage system that goes through the church property. It flows into pipes.
Right, so there's culverts there, and you can see, look, you look down, and I apologize, I didn't realize, I was looking for the end of where this depression was, and on that grate, it says, this is a water course.
Right. You have to now, Watercourse is defined differently by many, so like the company that makes that grade.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it just seemed, I've never seen a storm drain that says this is a water course.
Well, every storm drain is important that flows to the sound, which just about everyone. So like, we don't want people dumping oil in the catch basins and things like that, but
Right.
I guess, I don't think that the fact that you have a catch basin with a pipe doesn't make it a water course. And it ultimately flows to a water, Long Island Sound is a water course, so it flows to a water course, and that is important. But is it regulated by you, I guess? And what Jay is saying, yeah, it's important, and there's riparian law separate from your regulations that say you can't just block a stream and have water back up on your neighbor's property. Water's moving through your property, you have to ensure that it continues flowing through the property. And
But do you feel the culverts that are coming from that's on that culvert that's on 6? I realized I was trespassing, so I backed up, but I didn't really examine it too closely. But are you saying that there's no culverts coming from those properties into that area? Because there was a lot of connections.
they're downstream, so the area that we're requesting your
Right,
opinion on is upstream,
right.
and it discharges into that drainage system that you,
Right.
well, that you.
Explored. I explored and then realized I was there was no fence or anything, and I realized that I was, so you're saying, so but this is upstream, but you're saying it's not draining into that area, or it is draining?
Yes, most definitely. And then there's a pipe that goes entirely through the church property, and then there's the exit ramp, the southbound exit ramp at 95, and there's a
Right.
channel there.
Yes, and I understood that part, but yeah, okay. But when you were saying that something had been abandoned, I didn't understand what you were saying had been,
That's, I'm referring to the two culverts in Wakeman, just uphill of the.
just uphill. Okay, I know which ones you're talking about. Okay,
That are like buried, they're hard to find.
yes. Yeah, we saw those, yep.
The town, through our discussions with the town to better understand the situation, they exposed the lower downstream end of those pipes so that you could look in and take a picture of it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I don't see them as hard to find. I guess maybe that's why.
When we started this process, you could see the head wall, they were barely visible.
Okay.
On the uphill, on the upstream, on the north side of Wakeman, all I could find is one little piece of the head wall. There's a little piece of the concrete head wall, but otherwise that's completely buried.
Any further questions? You, Commissioner Fain? Bowen, any questions? So. No, I'll strike that. It's okay. Tim, do you have anything you want to add? Anything further on your end? Oh,
No, I think it's well discussed. Thank you.
okay. So now I'll ask,
I actually, sorry, Luke, I did just want to point out that we don't regulate piped water courses.
you don't regulate pipe, right? So I think ultimately what the discussion is we have to decide what the definition of an intermittent water course is here. And is it whenever there's a storm and there happens to be water there? Or is it even when there isn't a storm or a storm has ended, there's still water in there?
You need a defined permanent channel, and then two of three things.
Okay.
One is the presence of hydrophytic vegetation, which is wetland vegetation. Now, at Jade, there's different types of hydrophytic vegetation. There's they break it into 3 zones. One they call obligate, and find that you're 99% of the time in a wetland skunk cap.
Okay.
But not every time you find skunk cabbage are you in a wetland, but most of the time. And then that's obligate, and then in the middle is there's facultative, which at the time, red maple is a classic example. Most common wetland tree in our area, but half the time you find that, you're not in a wetland. So it's a transitional, and the smart wheat that Jay referenced, that, you'll find that growing out of cracks in the road, like where water sits by a curb or something like that. I find it in sidewalks, so that, like, if you map wetlands, according to the federal definition, and they use vegetation where the state law doesn't use vegetation for wetland mapping. And presence of one plant, a couple plants isn't enough. It has to be dominant. And so that particular species, if there was skunk cabbage growing there and it was a dominant feature, but I think for all the reasons I've said, that yes, there's some vegetation there that you would find in wetlands, but I don't think it rises to the level that's necessary for water course. And then the other, so you need the channel, and then you need three things. You need hydrophytic vegetation, you need evidence of scour and deposits. That means deposits from water movement. Then you need flow of water longer than a particular, or two of three, for duration longer than a particular storm event. So if you have vegetation and the water flow, that's enough. If you have the scour and the vegetation.
I ask for the flow longer than a duration of a water event. What time frame are we?
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
Hey,
Some people I've heard, certainly during the event.
sure.
Some people look at, for example, a stream.
Okay.
Yeah, big storm, the water flow in that stream, it has a base flow. It's getting groundwater. Sure. All of a sudden it rises up. And then some people will argue that the effect of that storm event continues until that stream gets back to its base flow. So that and the bigger the water course, the longer it takes to get back to the bed. So a very small water course like this, you'd expect maybe a day.
Okay.
Or something of this size.
And
A stream, it may take a week or two.
and just keeping it here, the way this is set up, that we've seen, is this, so the idea is, if this had water going in there for a week straight after a storm event, you would agree it would be an intermittent water course.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah,
Okay. And you're saying that, well, no, it's not, because it doesn't take that long. Maybe we haven't really seen it, but it doesn't give evidence to show that there's something going on here longer than the event is an event. Okay.
Here,
Bill.
I have the actual definition. Do you want me to
Yes,
read it?
please.
Okay, so it says intermittent water courses will be delineated by a defined permanent channel and bank and the occurrence of two or more of the following characteristics. A, evidence of scour or deposits of recent alluvium or detritus. B, the presence of standing or flowing water for a duration longer than a particular storm incident. And C, the presence of vegetation.
Okay. Well, that's good. Pretty close off the top of your head. Not too bad.
So most of what I saw appeared to be grass that's been pruned and managed in that way. What vegetation did you see that would be indicative of water?
So contained in this picture 6, there's a smartweed, is pretty dense growth. Can't use the grass itself because obviously it's being maintained, so it can't affect the hydrology. But in this picture, it's pretty clear that there's a pretty dense growth of smartweed, which is Bill mentioned as a facultative. I think it's facultative upland.
Thank you. All right. Commissioners, any other questions of the applicant or Mr. Kenny?
I just want to make one last observation, unless you want to wait for the discussion after the close the hearing.
You're referring to number 6?
Is it going to be a question for an answer, or you just want
No,
to? And we'll do that in the discussion. So,
Thank you.
because I have, is it anybody here or online in favor of this application? Please, if you'd like to speak, come on up, or if you're online, let us know. Nobody here in favor? Anybody here in the room or online in opposition or opposed to this application? Please come forward and speak. let us know if you're online. If not, then thank you. Really, that's it. We can do a discussion.
Close public
Yeah,
hearing.
I'll close,
Motion
motion
closed.
close. And, okay. Commissioner Boucher seconds the motion close. All in favor? Aye. And Ed, were you eyeing there? Yeah, there you go. Okay. The public hearing is now closed. And we can discuss.
Let's start. If you want to wait to do this.
Let's see. We might. Yeah, we know we
Public
public
hearings.
Let's just do the next public hearing and get it. Okay. The next public hearing under Roman numeral 4, number 2, map amendment application, Grayson, 113, Twin Pine, Green Lane Road, map 158, parcel 31. To request to amend town map I-4 to reflect ground conditions. Decision may be made if the hearing is completed, or the hearing may be completed, or may be continued. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe, the hearing ends January 10th, 2024. So the public hearing may be continued to the January 3rd, 2024 meeting. 65-day time extension may be provided by the applicant. So further public hearing continuations are possible. If the hearing is completed, the agency shall make a decision within 65 days. Staff recommends approval of the map amendment. Okay, who is here on that?
That is me on WebEx.
There we go. Okay. Is that you, Mr. Grayson?
That is, yes, Adam Grayson. I live at 61 Twin Lanes Road, and I'm appearing on behalf of my neighbors, Saul Miller and Jill Baum, who live at 113 Twin Lanes Road.
Okay.
We were doing some soil inspection on our property. We hired Mr. Kenny to come out over the summer. And Mr. Bishop came out kindly a few times to provide his guidance. There was no obvious signs of wetlands on our property, and Mr. Kenny and Mr. Bishop both recommended that the current property with wetlands mapped, which is the 113 address, be inspected as well. So we, my neighbors and I engaged Mr. Kenny to do soil samples on both 61 and 113 Twin Lanes Road. The results of both were that Mr. Kenny and his associates, in 2 separate visits, I believe a week or so apart, were not able to find any evidence of wetland soil. So we are applying for the town map to be updated to reflect those findings.
Okay. Thank you. Tim? Would you like to add anything? I mean, we have your, obviously your memorandum.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I have nothing to say. At this time, I think my memo was self-explanatory and thorough. I did point out in the memo, and I'll say it again for the record, that I did not set foot onto the 113 property, for personal inspection, but had visited with the Grayson residents at 61. I think 2 or 3 times. Provided, like Mr. Grayson said, provided guidance on the process, to get to this point, and had no evidence of a quick visual inspection that there were any wetland habitats on his property.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions of, Mr. Grayson?
I have a question for Tim.
Question for Tim. Okay.
I did drive by these properties. I wanted to inspect them, but I didn't feel like I felt like I'd be trespassing, so I didn't walk on either property. But I did drive by them. I don't have any question really with the 61 delineation or request to demap that property. From what I could see, it doesn't appear like there are wetlands on that property. I just wanted to ask Tim, he says he hasn't walked the 113 parcel. Do you think that's something that should be done before we act on that parcel, Tim?
It could be. I didn't have any contact with that property owner specifically. I know the commissioners did, or some of you did get out there. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And I guess the only thing I'll point out is similar to what I described in the memo, was the historic, what looked from aerial photos to be a irrigation ditch when the area was agriculture. And then that ditch disappeared from aerials in the mid 80s. So, with the town maps being generated from the 1968 maps, it's consistent with mapping wetland and water courses on these parcels, or on the 113 parcel. Then it does not appear that it's existed for the last 40 or more years.
Tim, you also mentioned in your memo that based on offsite resources, 113 Twin Lanes is also an upland review area.
Correct. I think what is clear from current aerials is there is a wetlands resource to the north. Again, having not walked that parcel either. It does look like there is some type of detention or land feature, that maybe low-lying land feature area.
Okay.
That would cast a upland review onto the 113 parcel.
Okay.
But I don't see any evidence right now of wetland resources on 61 or 113, from what I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, commissioners, any questions to Mr. Grace?
There is a culvert underneath that driveway coming from, I think it's from 141 across to your property.
Yeah, you identified that when we did the site walk onto 113. So it goes from 113 to the property to the north. I'm not sure what number that is. There's two lots that are in a flag.
It's like 130. No, I think it's 135. It's just where the driveway goes through, but there is a culvert there that goes into that area. And my question was actually for Bill Kenny, like where did he do his testing? Did he do it right by that culvert there?
So I did not supervise Bill doing his testing. As part of the application, I think he had marked off the locations of the soil samples he did. So I don't have that culvert on a map, so I'm not exactly sure how close they were.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of Mr. Grace? From the commissioners? No?
I just have a question on procedure.
Okay.
I think I know the answer, but I'll ask it anyways. Would it be permissible for us to act on one property tonight and hold the public hearing open for the other property? How was this noticed? Did they notice separately or?
It's one altogether. So we'll do it together. Yes. If you wanna.
It's really only 13
Yes.
because 61 is just upland review area. So the wetlands themselves were only on 113.
Since none of us looked at that specifically, I personally would feel more comfortable having at least Tim go out there and look at that to see, and before we close the public hearing and get it.
Okay, we do have time to the next meeting, so, well, before we do that, is anybody here in favor of this application, either in the room, the public, or online? Is anybody here in opposition to this application here in the room or online? Okay. That being the case, we can, I'll do a motion, yeah, to see if that
Continue the public hearing to the
next meeting.
January meeting.
Okay,
Second.
anybody second? And the seconds, all in favor? Okay, that's, okay, so the public hearing will stay open into the next meeting. And I guess that part of that would be, and we can go look at it.
And there's a culvert going.
It's not really part of the motion, but that was the idea that you're being probably looking for.
So Jay, are you asking that, you know, the application is for two, but are you asking if we can split them
No, we're
individually?
No.
We can't, we're just gonna hold the public open. At least Tim doesn't.
Make sure that wasn't your goal.
It hasn't been, you know, by a kid, I'd like to get on the 113 property also. Again, I don't want to, it's kind of a private compound, so I don't want to have advance notice before the property.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to the next public hearing under Roman numeral 4. It's number 3, WP-22-151, Town of Fairfield Engineering Department, 150 Villa Avenue, map 33, parcel 75A, flood mitigation project within a regulated area. Decision may be made if the hearing is completed, or the hearing may be completed. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe to complete the hearing ends on January 10th, 2024. So the public hearing may be continued to January 3rd, 2024. A 5-day time extension may be provided by the applicant, so further public hearing continuations are possible. The hearing is completed. The agency shall make a decision within 65 days. Staff recommends approval with conditions. And, well, hello,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm fine. Just, I'm Bill Hurley from the engineering department.
Okay,
And if I'm ready to speak, just let me know. I'm just doing a couple of minutes of prep here.
sure, the floor is yours when you're ready.
All right. Do have an easel, but it'll probably take me 5 minutes to set it up, so.
Share works just well.
Yep. I guess I'll stand if that's okay.
Sure.
Good evening, Commissioners. During the storms of 2018 through 2023, the neighborhood of 91 to 191 Algonquin Road has been flooded several times, as you know, and same with the downstream area and other parts of the Rooster River. We just had a huge public hearing back in, I think it was September or October, filling in everybody on what's going on as we obtain hopefully the final permits. We got all the DEP permits just recently, just to give you a little sidebar on that. And we are just awaiting the final Army Corps of Engineer permit. Then we'll be able to do design and go into the construction of those detention ponds. In that same process, we had hired a consultant to analyze a smaller watershed area. And that's this area right here where Pequot Road and Algonquin. And then this is Collingwood here. And then as you drive up the hill around a curve, I was fortunate enough to go to the Brooklawn Country Clubhouse. That's the way you would go, just to give you a little background of the area. It's just, they just happen to be in a bowl right here. The pipes are about 100 years old in some cases, and they were set at very low elevations, even some of them even lower than the Rooster River whenever there's a typical rainstorm. To lessen the impact, we hired SLR, that's the consulting engineer, to analyze, as I said, those other watersheds and this one in particular. Right now, the existing conditions, I tried to highlight in yellow. We have pipes that go through the neighborhood here, but they're very small. They're very old. We have had them cleaned out, but they're just so low that even here they have to do a chamber and the water actually has to build up and then go underneath the culvert here at Villa Avenue. Last year, the town purchased 150 Villa Avenue as an open space flood mitigation / water quality improvement parcel. And a lot of you might not know that just last month, through the help of conservation engineering and a couple of other people, we were able to obtain additional property at 191 Algonquin Road as well. And so now the town has a good portion of this 191 and all this, which I think adds, I'm going to just say roughly 3.3 acres of open space.
Is it the whole entire parcel or a good portion of it?
No, it's a good portion of it.
Going on any of the maps?
I had one, but I did not bring it with me. But I can tell you that actually on this side, it might show better. We made sure that the proposed pipe that we have here is on the town parcel. Their house was right here. They made a request that, they would be able to keep some of the side yard and come across. So we went out in the field, met with them. We met with attorneys and town side to make sure. And now that map's been filed at the town clerk's, and certainly.
Own that in fee and not as an easement?
Excuse me?
We own that in fee and not as an easement?
Yes, we have the whole property, correct. And I'll bring into that what that does for us as well. Okay. The consulting engineer developed plans to create stormwater wetlands at slightly different elevations. 1 foot deep water quality basin. They're going to enhance the wetlands with planting plan. They are going to remove basic soil. And as I mentioned before, they provided a wetland planting plan. The consultants were given a directive to reduce runoff wherever possible, reduce flooding potential at the Pequot and Algonquin intersection, divert the water coming down the hill here. We're able now to do that before we weren't able to gain this parcel. So we're able to divert the water. As I said, this is a huge bowl where all the runoff from the Brooklawn neighborhood and Algonquin here, all that runoff goes to that area. And I could show pictures or videos if you want, but it's quite horrifying that the water gets to be like 12 to 20 something inches deep. And obviously it's a danger to drive through there and everything like that. And a couple of homes have gotten repeated flooding due to that. Let's see. So they were given that directive, and then we initially tried to have them, I showed you on the other side here, these two these two long yellow pipes. We are able to take this one out. This one here, we have that as like a low level flow, because it is so low. They couldn't get it where the water wouldn't back up to it. So what they've done is they created an immediate bypass right next to it. Which is about 6 inches higher than that pipe. So once it gets 6 inches in that pipe, it can flow and come around here. And as I mentioned before, those familiar with the area, as you come down the hill here, all this water now gets intercepted here, goes around and goes right, which it was going here anyway, but now it's by addition by subtraction, if you know what I mean, where now we can reduce some of this runoff at the intersection and help that neighborhood out. By creating these small cells, we do get about 1 foot of storage. It's not shown here. If it's possible, right along the right of way, we'll do a little bit further study to see if we can maybe build up a couple, maybe 6 inches more to just provide even additional storage or what they call freeboard. to benefit the neighborhood below here as well. They provided erosion and sediment control measures and performed hydraulic analysis, providing runoff flow rates, pipe capacity, hydraulic grade lines, pipe sizes, slopes, using the standard TR55 and HydroFlow software. The proposal in front of you, I think, is ready for approval, but does have some flexibility, certainly, to incorporate any of the commission's, concerns or any advice, recommendations that you have. And then we would go through the whole thing again one last time with the conservation staff before we go out and to do the final plans and bids and specification. There's also, this is just a little sidebar. There's also potential to create a short trail system, a loop or a trail system here to connect the two neighborhoods. And it would be very small, it wouldn't be anything too big. There are some areas where we have to have access to maintain this. But from there, we'll be able to, as I said, create a path here or even a little bit of a path over here to encourage more use of the open space. There's a potential to work with the Aspetuck Land Trust, who has expressed interest in assisting the town to either improve or maintain the property. Obviously, we have to get agreement with that and do it separate. But as of last year, I know they expressed interest in doing that. And the wetlands and watercourse report, I believe, was submitted as part of the application. And I'm here to now answer any other questions you may have.
Yeah. Questions, commissioners? Okay.
Yeah, I had, first of all, not opposed to this, I think it's a good use of the property. However, I had devils in the details. I had a lot of comments and questions before I talked to Tim about it to some degree. And I know the town wants to move this along, so I'll do my best to help.
Appreciate it.
With that. So a couple things. We had a public hearing on the subdivision back last June, I think it was, and we made findings regarding that, including the location of the wetlands on this property. And these maps do not reflect that. So I would like to.
To have that superimposed on.
I would like it on, yes, because I think that's part of the record that we established.
We would agree to that, for sure.
Okay. The location of the basins, I thought, I get the idea. I don't have the hydraulics, so I can't review that or make any comment on that. I'm not sure quite how that's going to work and how much of improvement is going to be gained from this. But the overall idea of, creating some stormwater wetlands for water quality renovation is always, I think it's a good idea. However, I think we should do it within the context of the constraints of the site and do it as smartly as possible and do as, little damage as possible. This is a highly degraded site, but it has some unique characteristics, and I think we need to, good things about it, we need to preserve. So I would like to see if possible on the pipe that daylights to the left there that you daylight.
This one here?
Yeah, possibly put some type of plunge pool or area there to collect the sediment that comes out of the pipe before. Maybe try to, instead of having the hard left turn, try to soften the turn, and maybe it would make some more, that channel a little more sinuous, that act as a more natural feature on the property.
Yeah, I tend to even agree. The initial, they had these basins here. Initially, the pipe had gone like this at like a 90-degree angle. I had some concerns about that. So we've done this, but there's nothing saying that we can't make this more sinuous, like you said. And if necessary, I think they have some riprap protection there. It's not too big. If I
Maybe we can do a small plunge pool, because a lot of coarse sediments will settle out before they go. So that's something I'd like to see.
Okay.
There's no trees shown on the survey. I know there's a lot of trees. I know a lot of them are Norway maples and bases, but where we could, I'd like to, I think the trees provide a lot of benefits in terms of storm renovation and thermal lessening thermal impact. So I'd like to see the trees that can be preserved, saved wherever we can. So I'd like to see that they're more integrated into the overall design of the project.
Yeah, and to let you know, and I think that's one of the reasons why they were trying to keep the disturbance, you know, to a minimum over here, and have certain areas along, you know, with the neighborhood and all that, because that's going to be important to them. In the middle, I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but
You certainly have areas, you know, you can even put a tree in a basin. That's, you know, that can work. You know, you're not really.
If it's, yeah, water resistant or whatever.
Yeah, and it helps, you know, if the red maple, something, it could help with stormwater elevation. And again, you know, you provide some thermal impacts. I'd like to see the staging and stockpile area possibly eliminated because that's a disturbance of site that we may not need to have.
Okay, I think that represents a worst case scenario, but I'll double check on that. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's what, you know, I like the idea of incorporating a walkway into the overall design. You know, it would be important to have a good construction sequence in terms of how you're gonna approach this and, you know, what time of year it's done and whether you're gonna stockpile any of these upper layers of soils to put back in the basins or not. Those type of details are important. I looked at your planting plan, and for a disturbance of this size, which I'm not quite sure how much it is, but it's over an acre.
Of the disturbance, if you count this, that seems about right. The area was 2.7. I'd say that's roughly a third. So yeah, that's about accurate.
You only have about 500 plugs, which is not anywhere near adequate for this type of thing. And these are all the things you have are, you know, $2. So we're not talking a lot of money. I'd like to see that it says shrubs, but I think they're all perennials, no shrubs at all incorporated in this planting plan. I'd like to see some shrubs and trees also incorporated in it. And the zones for these plants should be clearly indicated what, you know, what type they can go in shallow water. The last basin that you have probably shouldn't even have any, or or it should just be like a wet meadow, not even a basin. That would be much better polishing than a wetland itself. So if you go from emergent marsh to a partially emergent marsh to a wet meadow, I think that's the best way you're going to polish the stormwater. I guess the one other thing I would add, and I think Tim probably better to look at that than I am, is you're going to remove soils from the site, so I assume we're going to test them and dispose.
Oh, yeah, it's a town policy. If you don't know
I
about
just want to get that on the
brought in or removed
Yeah,
from the
these
site.
soils are highly reduced, so there's a chance it could be higher.
Well, that was one of the ideas, and even though we don't, this is basically the consultant's plan, we had them tweak it a little bit. But the spoils, if they are acceptable, that's why I was thinking of, I said, kind of bringing them around or in an area to give a little bit more freeboard. Because as we have seen this area, in extreme rainfall, be underwater for most of the parcel.
So the last thing I have is I'd like to see, you know, overall, just like a concept of how the invasives remove the rest of the site. There's a lot of nasties out there. And this would be a good opportunity. And I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of that also.
Well, as I said, on that, the invasives, the plannings, you know, we relied on the consultant, but we can certainly, and as I mentioned before, the Aspetuck Land Trust, our conservation.
Yeah, I think
guys always have wetland soil scientists and plant, you know, landscape, not the landscaping, but you know, the wetland planning, landscaping plans. We can certainly develop that to a better level.
Yeah, I think a lot of these, my comments were incorporated in the staff report, but I just wanted to get them.
Commissioner Lexner?
I just wanted to mention pollinator pathway. Fairfield would be happy to collaborate with Aspetuck Land Trust on the planting plan and natives, et cetera.
All right, great. Thank you.
One of the things when we were out there,
Sure.
few of our other commissioners, there was talk about plants and stuff. There was a tree that had these giant leaves, and we found out it was a sassafras? Sassafras.
Hard to say though.
I'm not sure if, I don't know what that is. Is it an invasive? Is it there? Is it normal? They were just unique. And if there's any way to save them.
Native plants, they tend to be aggressive. I wouldn't say they're invasive, but they tend to be aggressive. But if you keep them in check, yeah, they're native, they're nice.
They all grow from one root. They take over the world.
Okay, well,
I think they're common in Maryland, but that's.
I
seed of it was,
to make the tea out of it.
Do we have a clear idea of how many trees would need to be removed for this one?
To be honest with you, I don't know. That may or may not have been in the scope, but we could certainly get you a number, within.
So like a
40 or
catalog of
50 within.
species and, yeah, that would be great. I would say,
I'll be honest with you, and I'm not sure on the original subdivision map. I don't know if they had the tree.
Some of them are on there.
they might,
Yeah, there were some.
might have
Some, but again, I don't know how much in detail.
species and girth would be great.
Species.
Right, so we're on Norway maples, but I think there's some nice oaks and there are nice trees out there. There's some old growth trees out there.
I think you get the overall idea.
Yeah.
It's a nice enough parcel. It was great that we did all of this work starting from last year with the land swap, whatever it was. And none of us wanted to just be cut down and then just made.
Oh, no.
Giant ponds.
No. Right now, I believe, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's considered under the guise of open space property, so that.
So that was my
Segue.
question.
I just want to just go into that to confirm that.
Somebody confirm that for us? Is it, isn't it? Is it registered? How does that work?
Yeah, last year with the decision amongst the town departments, and town council with the purchase, it was gonna fall under our the commission's jurisdiction as open space. And this project with collaboration with engineering and other departments to serve this function, but still be in the commission's inventory. And I just wanted to also point out for the record, my last discussion with David Brandt, the executive director of Aspetuck Land Trust, their interest was only in the beginning as a joint purchase. Since they were not involved financially with that joint purchase of 150 Villa, the main parcels, he had expressed that there's no interest on behalf of the trust.
Right, well, Tim, I think we can identify other players or other interested parties in helping to develop the property. From
Native pathway for one, and I'm sure there's other groups.
It's also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll jump in with both feet on that pollinator pathway.
As it's been confirmed that it's an open space, or we believe that it is, then I'm inclined to, with Commissioner Fain, to say if you could do some pathways in there so people can also enjoy it as a walking in that area. I can't, maybe the little parks and stuff, those are ball fields. This is more, I want it, more nature stuff,
In a matter of fact, and again, if I recall, when we went through all the town board approvals, it was for passive.
Yeah.
Passive
Yes.
record, so there'll be none of that other stuff.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Right.
And it might serve some
Walkway would be,
educational- Sure, if it's a functioning wetland.
There's some
So excited
parking
about
for it, so
that.
probably just gonna be people in the neighborhood who want their
Well,
dogs.
that's why I think it would be important if we could, have a little connection path.
Yeah. So people in the neighborhood, it's open space. So when it's all done, that fence, it's all going away. It's.
That's our plan, to get rid of the fence.
Okay.
Whether we replace it, the only fear we have is one day the fence was open and a couple people dumped stuff on
All
it.
right.
So
So
if we do clear it, we might like clear a little of the underbrush to kind of open it up a little bit.
Okay.
But it's definitely not our intent to clear cut or anything. Absolutely.
And if you do need to have like a fence on the sidewalk, maybe at least so like no vehicles get in there, but at least open, so it's not locked. I mean, right now, it's obviously was private property and we have this idea to finish it, but if it's open space, it'd be nice to people to get out there and use it. It's a nice
Some
little.
of the trees, so we could learn what the trees
Yeah.
are. It's functioning. I thought it was great. Love the idea.
My only other question is what time of year?
Exasperate.
Well, again, what Jay had mentioned, when when we were looking for approval or whatever, and so, assuming if we get the approval tonight, we'd be able to finalize the plans, meet, with the holidays and all that. But my goal would be to try to do this in probably like February or March, in what I would consider somewhat dormant season, right? That would be.
Yeah,
better to do
sort
it
of.
Later, I mean, if we could
Long
get
of-
it in January, that's great.
How long is the project supposed to take?
Well, I think it's going to run in phases a little bit in that, like, for instance, removing the fence. We might farm that out as part of the contract, or maybe DPW could remove the fence. But the plantings, maybe we're better off phasing that or doing that in separate, because, a contractor that might be good at constructing detention areas or whatever, or even a pathway, may not be the one you want planting.
Right. I mean, my only concern is that if there are things that we're asking for, like a tree schedule and things like that, that it's gonna push the project forward enough that we get into spring season and disrupting a lot of environmental concerns, disrupting wildlife. things
Definitely don't want to do it in the spring.
Yeah, that's what, so it would have to be, like I said, depending on the approvals and everything. It'd be great if we can do it late January, but I just, again, trying to give you a little more realistic rather than rose colored glasses. But, February or March, certainly. And if we can get it sooner, we would be willing to able.
Would the first phase be able to be completed within
We can.
8 weeks' time?
Again, we're not on the road. We've got, with this permit, we don't need any other permits. We'd be able to start, and I would say at most, again, a good portion of the project could probably be done in 2 months. And then if it came to the point of, rains in the spring, or we didn't want to disturb an area, then maybe the walking path or whatever, that we wait till July.
Major disturbances, the tree
Right.
work, the digging, could be done earlier in the project.
There's a rectangular concrete.
Yeah, that's
Right there.
that's the chamber there.
What was that used for? Do you know?
Can you turn that over? That's where the pipe ends. That's what he just said.
Yeah. So down here,
That yellow line is a pipe.
Yeah.
And that chamber had to fill up before the water continued out. That's what it is.
yeah,
This-
the invert of going out is 10.76.
Yeah.
The area is almost 18, so you can see how low it was.
Originally, did that have a cover to it, or?
And the culvert on Villa Avenue is like 13, so it had to go up like 3 feet to get out.
Originally, did that have a cover to it?
I would imagine it did, but I really don't know. I mean, at one point, if I remember, it was diocese property, and then before that, it might have been some greenhouses or something like that.
It's like a rustic hot tub.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I know.
I would just like to reiterate that I think that this is a great project, but I think we want to get it started sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
I think that's one of Tim's recommendations, was that there was nothing going on between April.
Okay, all right. And that would make sense, and as I said, that area is
Yeah, number
susceptible
4 for his specific conditions.
to water, so I would agree with that totally. No construction. Was it
If I
April?
could just make a comment, I was on a call with DEP Inland Fisheries today for an hour and a half. The state considers the low flow period between June 1st and September 30th. I think any in-water work for my staff rec alludes to those dates.
So you recommend that this work now start until after June 1st?
Yeah, I mean, at least any in-water work that would afford the reptiles and amphibians that have to migrate or breed, minimize disturbance to that activity.
But that would be for the stream, right? That would not be for any of the drainage pipes or for excavating.
Right.
But-
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to, and for those who don't know, conservation now is next to engineering, so we have a direct hotline.
No, I mean, so if it
This
could
is
be
definitely gonna be
raised,
proper
do the
project.
tree work and the construction before April. And then do any of the work closer to the road and to the river and the stream after June.
Yeah, that's. And then, and if they wanted to do the drainage pipe, way over here, outside the wetland area, that wouldn't be a problem. We'll have some flexibility with it. And as I said, we may phase it into like 2 different phases. Even 3, depending on, what type of work it is.
Commissioners, any further questions of the applicant?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody here or online that'd like to speak in favor of this application? Okay, hearing none. Anybody here or online like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much.
Gave us all $1.
Is that all it takes? All right, okay, anybody,
I'll make a motion.
motion?
I'll make a motion to staff record.
No, before we get there, we gotta close, so would you like, okay,
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
close the public hearing, anybody second that motion? Jay seconds that motion. Okay, any discussion?
Just, I'm grateful to, Mr. Payne for his input. It's really helpful. We're lucky. Thanks.
Yes.
I totally agree with that. The information, the knowledge, it's helpful.
I wrote down polish the stormwater. I was,
I wrote that too.
Yeah.
And particularly
yes.
it's helpful.
Yeah.
That you're not just, you get it.
I'm done. Let's see, so then, well, then let's take this one up. Would you like to talk about, anything further on this town of Fairfield thing? Or would you like to motion? If you don't know, no further discussion, we could do a motion, whatever you guys want.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Okay,
I guess I'd like to amend the motion that we approve of staff recommendations and staff review and approval of the final construction.
I would like to further amend that to include that it's
okay.
phased, so how do we?
I'm not even sure if we can, there's a motion on the floor
There's no
that
second.
wants to be amended, right? Everybody wants, there's 2 amendments to it. Maybe we have to take them
We don't
one at
vote
a
on the
time.
initial.
Time, yeah, let's just
I
do.
don't think there was a second to the first
There's
one.
never, okay, so
Then,
Oh, okay.
then
we can't amend anything. So there's the motion.
Second.
Okay.
So, did you get that? So it's
Yeah.
first, second. There's a motion to approve the application
With staff recommendations.
with staff recommendations. Now, there is a further motion.
then you can make the motion now too.
Jay,
Okay, make the motion now.
I'll make a further motion that we amend the motion on the floor to include, final review and, approval of the construction plans, by staff and the construction plans include the phasing.
and include phase. Okay, because we didn't have, okay.
And I don't need to amend that because he.
I'm sorry, that's with staff recommendations and phasing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Engineers hold us hostage for 2 years.
All right, just give me 2 seconds to make sure we're doing that right. Okay?
Would we have to include that because under staff recommendations, a detailed plan of construction phases is included, but you have to add that to,
Belt and suspenders.
yeah,
All right, but then Open debate and vote on comment. Okay, so do you accept the amendment?
Do we vote?
Amended?
Do we
That's what I'm doing right now. Hold
Yeah.
on, not yet. Do you, you have the main motion. It's been amended to, did you get the language that it was amended to?
Yes. Yes,
Okay. You
but I don't have a
accept-
second.
That's okay.
Okay.
You accept an amendment as stated? Okay. And would anybody like to second the amendment? Okay, so now we're voting on accepting
Amended.
the amendment to the main motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Ted, got it? Okay. So now we have a motion that's been amended. And now if you'd like to either discuss it, we can. If there is no discussion, we can vote on the amended motion.
The original motion as amended.
Yes, yes, the original motion as amended. So if there's no discussion, then we can vote in favor of. Okay, good. All in favor? That's all around.
Okay.
Congrats.
You know,
That was-
As they say, we'll be in touch.
Right. All right, we're still moving on here. Now, we'll talk. Applications for the street, number one, modification request for WP 22-159. WP 23-165. Muddy Puddle 3 LLC, 361 Cross Highway, map 170, parcel 38. Request to allow material generated by construction and additional retaining to remain as existing conditions, as well as modification to the proposed house, driveway, patio, stormwater detention system, and septic system within a regulated area. Last day for public hearing and decisions, February 9th, 2024. Last regular meeting prior to February 7th, 2024. Obviously, the dates haven't been set yet. They'll have to be set at the next meeting. But staff recommends tabling, pending departmental review. I believe that's okay. That's good. Yes, please table. Right, I don't even think we need to vote on that. Okay. Rule 6, application for discussion. Number 1, WP 23-152. Scheller and Workman, 2445 Congress Street, map 118, parcel 35. Construction of a driveway within a regulated area. What does that? Last day for decision is January 5th, 2024. Last regular meeting prior to January 3rd, 2024. Obviously, the dates haven't been scheduled yet, but staff recommends approval with condition. Okay. Tim? Want to tell us a little bit about this? I know some of us have been
The
out.
homeowner is here.
Yeah,
Okay, yep. But I do want, yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
I'll let Sarah speak to this. She generated the staff rec as well as has interacted the most with the applicant, so she's more versed than I am with this one. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so 2445 Congress Street, there is an existing shared driveway between that and the neighboring property. That shared driveway goes over a water course and then out into Congress Street. They would like to construct a new driveway that would just go along the side of their property and would not be shared because they've been having some issues with the right of way.
Okay,
The homeowner is here and can probably.
okay, great. That would be you?
Yeah, so, and Tim and Sarah have been so amazing helping me. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna, before you start, I'm gonna ask you to come closer so we can hear you. And then state your name and your address and that would be great.
I'm Rachel Workman. I'm the homeowner at 2445 Congress Street. We have a property that the house was built in 1947 and it's kind of like a rectangle. In the 90s, I think 92, they sold off a parcel. So it's almost like a panhandle, if you will. The original driveway, they placed the new house on that, so now it's shared. Unfortunately, our neighbors don't understand their obligation to ingress and egress.
So this actually started as more of a beautification project. Now it's kind of moved into more of a personal one, but there was an existing road. We don't know what it was used for. We thought maybe that was the original driveway from the 40s, but in Sarah's report, she mentioned that what the driveway that we have is the original one. But there is a roadway that was there. You can tell kind of by the pitch and the slope. There's a stone wall that is kind of supporting it. So we want to just restore that. So that way we don't have to have a shared driveway. The other benefit of that is it would run alongside the water course instead of crossing it. And it would improve, everybody's property value as well. And it would just be more private. The beautification part of it was, we wanted to have our own driveway and wanted to landscape it accordingly, like water, wetlands, sorry, I couldn't come up with the word, wetlands plant. So I do have an estimate, because this, one of the additions in the recommendation, I think you mentioned that you wanted a plan for plantings. So this isn't exactly what you asked for. It's not a drawing of it. I can get that, but it is a list of some of the plants that we're in, as long as they're with you guys. I'm really okay with all of the conditions that are in here. I don't really have any issues with them. The only condition that I'm concerned about is the existing driveway crosses a water course, and it's a stone bridge. You almost wouldn't even know it was a bridge unless you looked over and there's a waterway there. It's been there almost 80 years. So I'm worried that by removing that, I have no problem with it being gone. Having no connection to the neighbors would be lovely. But I'm concerned that taking those stones away is they've been supporting those banks for 80 years. And so I just don't know that we might be creating a problem that we don't already have. So I'm happy to make it impassable, remove the gravel that's there and put in soil. I don't really know what type of plantings I can put, because obviously you can't get it into the ground, but to do something to just make it better than it is now, without having to disrupt, because it really goes right over where it kind of turns into more of a creek right there. It sort of gets bigger and then it turns into a waterfall. It's beautiful. And also the stones are beautiful. I'm worried what would happen if we took them away. So that's really it. I love the conditional rules. I don't have any problem with the conditions, and yeah.
Sarah, when you said the removal of the existing driveway, did you want that stone area removed?
So the plan that was submitted had said removal of existing driveway. So I wasn't, sorry, I'm just trying to pull it out.
Area.
Yeah, it said, the impervious area eliminated.
Yes, I'm not sure what eliminated means exactly.
Right, like I'm not sure because that's actually what's like over the water course right now.
That's the original one that's been there.
Is that gonna create more of a disturbance by doing the show?
Yeah, Tim, that was my question, or Sarah, but like that seems to be.
It would be a short-term disturbance. It's would really be your call and what you want to come up with. And that was one of the things, is because that hadn't really been spelled out, I said, come with the plan to show us the restoration of that area. And we can.
Yeah.
Because, to tell you the truth, I didn't really look too closely at that whole area, because I did notice, because my big thing was that if they were gonna put more impervious surface draining, because, Congress is so heavily, under the slope, it's very heavily treated.
Right.
So I like that there's gonna be, that Coltex is gonna be part of this, but I hadn't really looked at that whole area.
Well, I think that what we like to see is the portion of the driveway that goes with the conservation easement be removed. I don't know that necessarily that crossing could be, could be left in as a pedestrian, but the intent of that's the driveway would be moved. The surface would be taken up, soil would be put down, and plants would be renaturalized. I think that would be, at least a quid pro quo for this application.
Yeah. That would
I think that's better than removing it. Yeah, I wouldn't.
I noticed that, I think that the engineering department recommended removing it, but I don't.
Yeah.
You know, there's a crossing right up the street on Congress Street, so this one, it does, you know, it's not like the fish are gonna be swimming up this.
Right.
So, and it's kind of a, historic feature, so it doesn't bother me to leave that stone culvert, but I wouldn't want all the impervious surface and all the driveway base removed and, you know, suitable.
We were
Growing.
thinking about doing that anyway. We hadn't decided if we wanted to keep that. But if that's, we also were considering doing that.
What
Exactly what you-
material are you thinking about for the drive?
Sorry.
What material are you thinking about for the gravel?
Yeah, because there's a gas line under it and a water line, so obviously we don't want to put asphalt on top of that.
Yeah, we saw the flags for the gas.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have our apron installed, and that's Belgian block, but then the rest of it we want to do gravel.
So,
Do you- I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Commissioner. Have you provided any maps or anything yet to us? There, okay. Will you also be able to provide, so that paper, it's great, but there should be a plan that shows somebody's gotta kind of do that for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's,
that's one of the other things I'd like to see.
well, I got this before I got this,
Sure.
so I didn't know that, and so I can go back to my contractor and have them build out an actual
Yeah.
plan, a proposal, and map it out, drawing.
Yes, that's.
And maybe a list of plants.
Yep. So it'll be specific. It'll be this
Yeah.
type of plant, 5 of these, and they'll show it on the map somewhere.
Yeah, so the ones she's suggesting already are shadblow, summer sweet, turtlehead, woodland phlox, Christmas fern, cinnamon fern. So I think those are where we want to be.
Yeah, okay.
And then on the plan, you might want to also specify that the stone culvert is remaining, won't be disturbed. So for the record, so that everything is.
Yeah, just for the record, while we're very sympathetic to your plight, our only consideration as a wetland agency is the environmental impact. And, you know, fortunately, I don't know why that driveway got constructed like it was. It's,
I don't either.
no, it's one there, you know, you're fortunate because the wetlands come right up to within an inch of it, but it's there. You know,
But, well, my only
Makes-
concern about it is there's a pretty steep grade right next to where the old driveway is. So you want to make sure that the feasibility of, dealing with that slope is,
On the other side.
yeah.
It's actually adjacent, the slope is adjacent to the current driveway that we're using, so we'll be even further away from that slope.
Good.
otherwise, I think we're, you know, in terms of impervious area, I think it's almost a trade-off. You know, number 2 biggest issues between neighbors that I've been working with government is private driveways and drainage. So, you know, we're solving a problem.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it at that. Any further questions, commissioners, any comments? Nope, okay. Any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
If I may, just for the
Need to have
record, I
approval.
wanted to point,
Tim?
just point out real quick that, condition number 3, Sarah and I discussed, formally demarcating the easement in this location was important. I know it's been a topic to the commission and this agency, so that was also included, just so everyone knows.
Do they have to come back to us to the Conservation Commission for permission to work in the easement?
Yes, that was another condition.
Yes.
Anyways, I'll make a motion to, is this an
It's
application?
Hang on.
It's in the condition, it's one of the.
Yeah, no, I didn't know, okay.
Planting plan, is in the condition.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the planting plan is
Back.
the condition.
So that's-
Planting plan.
It's in there.
It's one of the conditions.
It's one of the.
Yeah.
it's number
Should be.
20?
restoration.
Okay, great. Okay.
Right.
Okay, all right, well done.
Motion to approve with staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, and Commissioner Chase seconds. All in favor? Aye, and all around. Very good. Good luck.
Good night, everybody.
Two. Roman numeral 7, application awaiting public hearing, and this is only for informational purposes only. Number 1, WP-23-153, Remington Mead, 875 Mill Hill Road, map 228, parcel 95. Construction of a pool, patio, drainage improvements, and fencing within a regulated area. We've discussed this before, but it's on for January 3rd. This is just here to kind of have as a placeholder.
Yeah,
Okay.
just so we don't forget about it.
Yes. And then we will move on to number 2 under Roman numeral 7, AP-23-154, Race Coastal Engineering, 1131-1223, Riverwood Road, also known as Dogwoods Green Condominiums, map 46, parcel 16, pond dredging within a regulated area. And this is a public hearing that's scheduled for January 3rd, 2023. And, just for informational purposes only. All right, moving on to Roman numeral 8, bills and bond releases. Number 1, WP-22-106, Fairfield University, 1073 North Benson Road. Construction of a new residence hall, Regis West, with associated site improvements within a regulated area. Request of Walter Stapleton for partial bond release of $10,000 of original $15,000.
Yeah, there's a decimal point missing.
Yeah, bond. And remaining $5,400 for survival of plantings in the existing detention base. Staff recommends partial fund release of $10,000. Sarah, can you tell us if it's good?
Yeah, the dorm was constructed. It's got students in it. Everything looked good. They did some plantings in the existing detention basin that was there. So we just want to keep some of the money to make sure all those plants survive.
Okay, good. Any other questions or anything, commissioners? Okay. Excuse me. Roman 9, legislation, legal enforcement. Supposed to vote on
We have to vote on the.
Yeah, we need to vote on the
Bond.
release.
Oh, to vote on, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I apologize. Any motions to approve the release? Commissioners, anybody seconds? Okay, Commissioner Hood seconds. All in favor? Yes, thank you. All right.
For the partial release.
Yeah. 9, legal enforcement actions. Number 1, continue Benitez 666 Sturgis Highway, map 249, block 21. Failure to address NOV dated July 5th, 2022 for tree cutting and clearing in a regulated area without a permit. Tim, Sarah, whoever.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. If William Kenny is still in the audience, he could speak to this, but I'll make it brief. Working with him and his client, the homeowner, we expect to receive the application prior to the January 3rd meeting of the agency. So I've seen the planting plan and they will address that.
Well, that's good.
I was in contact with Bill Kenny's office today. They're working on the application submittal.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Well, that makes us feel better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then we'll move on to number 2 under Roman 9. Blanco, 144 Bennett Street, map 26, lot 166. Significant activities without a permit, including deposition of material within regulated area watercourse and disturbance of the natural and indigenous character of the land without sediment and erosion controls. Currently working with town special counsel to pursue legal enforcement actions. Is that the case still, Tim?
Update on that verbally is with the new administration came a new law working with Cohen and Wolf. I met with them last week, so that has been assigned to them. I have a briefing with them on this Friday, and the hearing in Bridgeport courthouse is scheduled for the 19th of the month, which I'll be required to attend.
All right, very good. Thank you for that update. Numeral 10, staff reports. Number 1, reports from the Conservation Department. A is CWC permits applications received 7. B, notices of violation issued 0. And C, bonds released 4. Anything to discuss specifically about that, Tim? No. Okay.
No, thank you.
Yep. And then number 2 under Roman numeral 10 is site walks for December. A is 875 Millfield Road. With that, even though it only has this address, I know that we're all aware that other adjacent properties that we will be looking at, as long as the neighbors and everybody's go on, we don't want to trespass. Is that okay with you guys?
I think you should visit 875, 975, and 100 Waterville,
Okay.
all of them at the same time.
Whatever happens at 875 is going to affect the pond at 100 where we live. And there is a direct water course that goes right down there, and we have been fighting this for 3 years. They come back with a different attorney and a different plan every year.
Can't hear this tonight.
Yeah, right.
But
Okay.
we're suggesting,
We're just asking you.
So what I'll ask staff to do is put those 3 addresses as one stop. And Tim, these 3 addresses are the 3 parties that are part of this. So if you can just confirm that.
Yes, that's correct.
Just confirm that they will all allow us to go on the property to look at it. So you're here saying you're okay with us going on there.
absolutely.
Okay. And then we'll get it's probably Attorney Fallon's and Attorney Gumper's
Right.
counsel, who, just as long as they're okay with us going on there, we'd be happy to do it.
So Attorney Gumper represents 2 of us. It's us and our neighbors.
Oh, okay, all right.
So there are 4 addresses, actually.
975, 875.
I'll confirm that with Attorney Grant as well, representing the Wannans.
So for the particular site walks in December, at least for subdivision or subpart A, staff can get us the addresses, and I'm just assuming they're all within walking distance, so they'll all be one.
It's a corner.
4 addresses there. Okay, so we're all on the same page. Okay, good. Number
Yes,
4
sir.
B is 1131-1223 Fairfield Woods Road, Dogwood Green. And then C is 361 Cross Highway. What days? I know we're getting.
We're doing Sunday.
The 17th. Either the
Sundays are
Sunday or
looking at the 10th to the 17th.
17th. I think the 17th will work. Is that okay with everybody? It's before any major
8
stuff.
a.m.?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Now on Roman numeral 11, other. I'm gonna add or talk about one thing that it's not here tonight, but I did prepare at the recommendation of a commissioner who's not here tonight, Jerry Alessi, made a suggestion, and I took it. I have prepared a letter that I will be signing tomorrow morning at our offices there, Town Hall. That our commissioner here, Commissioner Boucher's term is up. It's been from the time he was appointed, the time is up, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. And there's a new administration. So I put a letter there that I would highly recommend that they reappoint Commissioner Boucher for the good work that he's done here. I want him here. I need him here. I think we all want him here, need him here. either as a secretary or as a commissioner, however he feels, we'll be dealing with those things at the Conservation Commission thing. But for purposes of being on this body, I think it's imperative to have excellent people like Commissioner Boucher. And I did sign it. Well, I will sign it tomorrow. I did prepare it. But I would also recommend, if anybody would like to, if you can do a second page to that, and if anybody else would like to sign it, feel free to go down and add your name to my letter if you so choose to do.
There's no way out, huh?
Nope.
Absolutely.
And hopefully the you know, the
Right
new,
here.
there it is, yeah, perfect. And the new first select people will do it. So
So you're
here,
asking us
here,
to sign anonymously.
Absolutely.
yeah, okay. Very,
It's my pleasure.
very
Thank you.
good. Anybody else with anything other?
Yeah, one little thing, we have myself, Dabney, Nate, and Ted. We're gonna try and form our subcommittee to draft a proposed ordinance on contractor responsibility.
Oh, yeah, great.
Hopefully, maybe we can start in January.
Yeah. So we'll just see what's going on. Excellent.
Before we adjourn, do you want to go return to looking for the,
Oh, sure, if you want to, we can do that now, yeah.
if you want to do that, it's up to you.
We can, yeah, if you guys are, you think you're gonna be ready to vote, we can
Yeah.
vote. There's no further information required or anything. Let's,
Which one?
what would be, Joe Kennedy one, right, the number one?
I think it's number one.
Yep, so, yep, we are now, the public hearing has been closed. We can discuss what our thoughts are and then also vote on it. If we so choose.
You want a motion first?
No, we're just discussing right now, unless you want to.
No, I'll be happy to discuss, but I'm ultimately, I will admit, let's just
Discuss, okay. It's open to you guys, whatever, you know, we have the information presented by the applicant. Nobody was really here in opposition or for it from the public. We all made comments and things.
So my perspective is, I agree with Tim that there's not a lot of ecological value to this particular water course, but it's clear from the record that conversations from the information provided from the town engineer that there's a drainage function to this water course. I think that's well established. The intermittent water course definition, you know, there's room there for debate, but Bill, his testimony was that it does have the defined banks and channel. And I think, you know, he went back and forth, but I think he admitted there's wetland vegetation and that there's evidence of scour and deposition, and that only need two of those things for it to be an intermittent water course. We don't need the flow for more than a single storm event. I think there's enough there that at least that it's debatable. Different professionals might have different opinions, but it's at least debatable. My personal opinion is if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of being conservative and protecting the water course for the very reasons that the town engineer had asked us to, that it performs a valuable function, and I don't want it to be altered. I think if we deregulate it, there's no impetus for it not to be altered, and there's no penalty for it to be altered. So personally, I think that we should, I'd like to be conservative, and therefore I'm going to make the motion that we deny the map.
Not yet.
Okay.
Jay, can I ask a quick question? So I know there was like this thing like clean water, surface water. They left that grate open. And they're saying it's for observation. They have left that grate open for surface water to drain down into there?
I don't know, that's speculation. but-
I know, like, I just have never seen, like, I mean, like, it was in the back of somebody's yard. It just seemed like, if they were gonna culvert the whole thing, like, why did they leave that area open unless it was for surface water drainage?
It clearly has an historic basis for surface water drainage. It still drains. It might not be the most important drainage course, but these small ones make up it's like a spider web. These make up the important part of our drainage, the upper part of the watershed. And, you know, I don't see any harm in leaving it. And if they had came in with a cogent proposal to do something there that they felt was necessary, I think we would certainly entertain it. But to deregulate it gives us no say on it all in the future.
But like, in your professional opinion, have you ever seen it where they have left something like that open for surface water drainage? Okay.
I mean, I'll just piggyback on what Jay said. He pretty much said exactly what I was gonna say, which is it's always easier to deregulate than it is to regulate or re-regulate. And I think that when there is a reason or a situation where there's debate among professionals, it's always a good idea to err on the side of caution and be conservative, especially when it comes to protecting wetlands. So I agree. It's just not, there's no, to me, the evidence isn't clear enough to make the case that it isn't useful. So.
I agree with that statement as well, and I think the issue is really, anything that they want to do, we get a chance to take a look at and have purview over. If we change the map, that's gone. And with the amount of open space that's left in town and the amount of building that's going on, I would err on the side of being very conservative and protecting whatever we can.
I guess another way to look at it is what harm are we causing if we preserve and keep it as restricted area?
I don't see.
We can always go back and look at this 2 years from now.
Right.
Right, Daphne.
Yeah, and then my other question for you, Jay, is it possible that over time, especially as we have more severe storm incidents, that it could return to being inactive?
I think you see all the time, people are always trying to drain their properties. You saw it tonight with the drainage improvement bill wants to, whenever you can preserve even these small drainage ways, I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Still hung up on intermittent water course.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
think
definition in the statute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with saying that the statute is debatable.
Yeah, so
Well,
I mean, I actually personally am persuaded, Jay, but I still think I have to be persuaded within the confines of the statute. So I wasn't really comfortable with either.
I think it makes it statute. I don't think it's, this is contrary to the statute. The statute is pretty clear. It has to have the defined better banks, which it has, and then it will admit that. It has to have wetland vegetation. That has one of three other parameters. Wetland vegetation.
There.
Yeah, that was one
Right,
part
and I-
of his disagreement, because he said that particular vegetation that's there, that one type that's there, can be on asphalt in a crack. He said something along those
Right,
lines.
but
It was also, we'll go on.
Yeah,
but again, it's the vegetation,
Right.
this is the deposition and scour, which is definitely there and you admit to that. And then the
Yeah.
third thing is flows more than a particular storm event. We only need two, and we have the deposition and scour, and I think we have the vegetation because it's there. And it's in terms of the,
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I
in
would
terms
have,
of the,
We don't
in
have
terms
the
of
law.
that, there's a manual called the Army Corps of Engineers, and they publish all the status of all these different plants. And that one happens to be a facultative wetland plant, which means that most of the time, I think 75% it grows in the wetlands. So, if they hadn't mowed that all the time, you would see more
I wanted to
wetland.
draw attention to that. It's manicured and it might be more, it might have a better presence if it wasn't all.
Right, if it wasn't all.
It's
But
maintained
the area that
areas.
wasn't manicured, it was,
So hold on, Tim, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it's maintained area, so any weeds that were growing, they're cutting out anyway and treating with glyphosate, so.
Okay.
they're
Now,
changing
Tim,
conditions.
you got your hand up, Tim?
Yeah, thank you. If I may, just since it is, and a lot of the commissioners have concerns, if I'm able to recommend the consideration of a third-party wetland scientist, if that would make people feel more comfortable in making a decision, that would be an option as well. Just throwing that out there.
So
It is a definition question.
this is the first time down, right?
yeah, if we close the public hearing.
But we don't have to make a decision right now.
But we can't,
We can't ask, can we ask?
The department could acquire extra knowledge.
Yeah.
I-
Okay,
I believe that even though the public hearing is closed, I believe the department has the ability to collect additional information. as the agent.
I'd like that.
Recommendation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that,
I actually don't, for the sake of.
I mean, I'm not
We
sure
have two
how
different
much,
opinions, and
yeah, I'm not
gonna do a
I'm not really sure that
We're not gonna go 2 out of 3.
I'll do it if you make me.
I mean, the real problem here is that the statute isn't specific enough, right? So we could get all the
Oh my God.
professional.
It's super specific. It's got 3 prongs.
No, it is. Only thing
I
that,
think the thing is that, because, Bill Kenny was talking about his interpretation is clean water, surface water. I think that, the statute doesn't talk, it just says water. Like, so I don't think that we have to, where the water, like it's water.
so close. I'm comfortable where we are, that's all I'm saying.
You're good.
I don't mean to, it's not influence.
It's okay.
Go on, I'll call the question.
Let's. Well, you can make a motion regardless, right?
Yeah, right.
I'll make a motion that, based on the evidence that provided that it wasn't conclusive, and that we should deny the proposed map amendment.
I'll second that.
That's seconded. Okay, so now we have a motion. Did you get that? It's Commissioner Fain, Commissioner Hood seconds. So now we can talk.
Yeah,
further.
I mean, I think that the key here is it's non-conclusive. I mean, right? I think that is really the crux of all. It's non-conclusive because the statute is not specific enough.
Okay.
And in my view, that is enough of a reason to not move forward.
So
I would add that I feel the statute is pretty conclusive, but I'm persuaded that I understand that apparently they can grow in concrete.
Yeah.
That's not really persuasive to me.
Okay. But it was read into the record. Commissioner read the statute, so we are familiar with the language, and Jay and Bill said that 2 out of 3 is what's needed. So everybody understands what we're talking about. So if we were to vote on this now, a yes vote would be to deny the map amendment. So everybody's clear once they decide to vote, whichever way they did.
In a way, 2 out of 3, find that.
If
Persuaded that there's 2 out of 3.
if you're persuaded that there's 2 out of 3, then you would deny.
Right.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion to deny?
So to farm.
Yeah. Everybody except me.
guys, 3, 4, 5,
Man of the
6.
law.
They can come back to here.
Yeah, they can always come back. That's just that. They can come back anytime they want.
They can document that I just feel like they're non-existent.
Right, if they can document that there was no standing water after the storm event, I think that there was a lot of back and forth on that.
It's the burden of proof, really.
It's the vegetation for me. He did concede that there was what did you this?
Marley.
No, the post-mortem.
Oh, yeah.
What's
The
that?
sediment.
Sediment. The sediment he conceded, so that he gave that, whether or not.
Standing water.
Plans are. As for one more on the other, we can real quick. Are we gonna have a special meeting at some point then, maybe, or no?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we could discuss that and set up an agenda,
Okay, just if
a
anybody's.
special meeting. Were you trying to do this before the Christmas
Yeah, if we can, if
holiday?
we can do it, but if not, we can do it shortly after. You can float an email around.
Great, and I'll see you in the morning.
Okay, very good.
We can't do that here.
No. Anything at no, that's, oh, good, oh, good. Well, it's not too bad, 9 o'clock.
Location.
Yeah. You look
perplexed. Did you not catch on until after what we were talking about?
I was like, she's like, do I need to schedule?
Good night, everybody.
I was more nervous.
Good night, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Good night.